All right, everybody, it's time for Red Rain Podcast episode number 182. Please welcome in your host, Walter Mitchell.
Thank you, Kyle Little Rock Ledbetter, sporting his Oakland A's elephant hat that he got over the weekend while working for the A's. And looks cool, man. That's a fresh look for the A's. Let me tell you. And his green shirt to match. So we're psyched here. Here is 61 Sam. He started in 61. I started in 63. I'm 63 Mitch. So and Kyle is we'll have to figure out his
Yeah, we'll call it 2003. How about that?
03 Little Rock. So it's good to have all of us here. Happy Labor Day to everyone, and hope you're enjoying your day, and hope that we can add to your enjoyment. Today we want to take a look at the Cardinals position groups and rank them. It's kind of cool to do that, and it's good to do that to opponents too, because probably the biggest challenge of coaching is to do what you do well and be able to do it well, and then cover for what you don't do well and do that well. In other words, compensate, knowing what teams will try to do to try to exploit whatever weaknesses you have. So it makes for interesting conversations. And I put some polls on X yesterday, and we got the results in. So we're gonna show you the results, and then I'm gonna give you my opinions, and then Sam's gonna give you his, and Kyle's gonna give you his, and we'll see if we can come to some sort of consensus, and if we can, and then or understanding. So let's start with the first poll, which was defensive, the strongest position group on defense. The folks on X, our X fans, Cardinal fans, had defensive interior go first, safety second, edges third, and cornerbacks fourth. And I think that's really encouraging. If this turns out to be true, if our defensive interior is the strongest, that's going to be very, very impressive for the Cardinals, particularly turning that around from a weakness last year into a top strength. That would be amazing. And credit Monty for that. I too am high on them, but I think that the safeties, I think that room may be the most talented and deepest on the roster. Because what we don't realize yet, in my opinion, is how tremendous Dadrion Taylor Demerson is, and what he adds to the group in terms of the versatility and what they should be able to do. Really encouraged by the edges with the addition of Josh Sweat, and the cornerbacks are young, so they're not there yet, but hopefully they will be there when we play on Sunday in New Orleans. So those are my opinions with safeties first, defensive interior, edges, cornerbacks, and then our weaknesses. I left them out because you can only put 4 in the poll, but I think it's pretty clear that our weakness has been inside linebackers. So let me turn to Sam. Looking at what the folks on X voted for, and looking at my opinion, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm in lockstep with your opinion. In fact, I think the safety group is the strongest position of the whole team, offense and defense.
Yeah.
And you have Buddha there. I think he's the smartest player on the team. I think he makes the entire defense go. Then you have Rabbit. And then if you throw Garrett Williams, who is a sometime safety, that's a pretty strong position group.
Yes, it is.
And then I had the interior of the defensive line on there second. And, you can't go wrong with Calais, and you can't go wrong with Tomlinson. Both are solid and reliable. In fact, I think those guys might even be classified or qualified as defensive coaches. But after those two players, you got Robinson, you got Nolan. Those guys haven't shown me anything. I don't know if Nolan, if he runs the Robinson recovery stature the way Robinson did, we won't see Nolan all year. And then you've got Mustafa, who's played really well. And then you have the edges, all good. But again, you've got two guys there who haven't, their top two guys there haven't had more than 5 sacks a season. I think Birch is the steal of the draft this year for the Cards. So yes. I think they're going to be good. Depends on how he does. The edges may come in second here. But cornerbacks and inside linebackers, cornerbacks are awful young. They're injured. And I have no clue how our inside linebackers are going to do this year.
Gotcha. Kyle Littlerock, what's your thought?
Yeah, I'm pretty much in lockstep with you guys, although I'll make the case for the edges being a little bit higher, if only because I think, especially for a team that has struggled on defense, you're often as good as your best players, right? Yeah. I think sometimes we underestimate just how important those star guys can be in terms of changing game plan, in terms of impact. And obviously for the last 5 years we've been doing this podcast, it feels like the only impact player the Cardinals have had on defense in terms of like a everyone respects this guy is Budda Baker.
Right.
And this year feels like it could be different specifically with Josh Sweat. You know, I don't know about Browning and Collins and the rookie Birch. We'll see how much of an impact those guys have, kind of jockeying for one of the positions. But if Josh Sweat is the guy that we saw in Philadelphia, I think we can pencil him in as the second best player on that defense this year. And while I don't think the edges have as much depth as the defensive interior, specifically if, you know, Walter Nolan is going to be healthy, which is still, you know, up in the air.
Right.
I do think if Sweat is that impact player off the edge, that, you know, it makes it easier for the aforementioned Collins and Browning and guys like that. But also if you have a guy who can rush from the edge and get you a certain number of hits, a certain number of pressures, and obviously sacks, I think it kind of changes the game for the Cardinals, who outside of that one Zaven Collins season haven't really had that guy that you can pencil in. Yeah, I'm not going to put a sack total on it because sacks in the modern age are hard to calculate. But if you can get a certain number of pressures and hits on the quarterback, then
right.
I think the defensive edges could be the second best unit. But I think that all kind of hinges on how good Josh Sweat can be.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that. And there's a lot of hype with Sweat being signed. They paid him a lot of money, but you got to remember he's more good than elite. He ranked 26th amongst edge rushers in sacks and 20th in the pressure rate. So we'll see if Jonathan Gannon unleashes him and he becomes as violent and as impactful as we've been told.
Right. Well, if the Josh Sweat who played in the Super Bowl shows up for us, we're in great shape.
Yes.
That was impressive. So he's got it in him. And, you know, I'm especially impressed with what you said, Sam, about Garrett Williams. I mean, the Cardinals are playing a lot of sort of like 4 quarters defense with, and playing like 4 quarters of the field by putting Garrett Williams in a high safety next to the other high safety. And then you have the 2 cornerbacks, and they love playing zones off of that. So 4 deep and 3 under. And then sometimes pulling one of those guys up. So you go 4 under and 3 deep. They're very high on that sort of package. So he's a fascinating part of our defense, and they seem to have creative ways of working with him. And I'm not sure you can really call him a slot corner. Well, he's certainly not a traditional one because they don't run him man to man a lot out of the slot, and which is interesting. Um, they more zone him out of there when he's down there, but they also like to keep him higher in the intermediate areas where he's really good picking off passes. So that was excellent. Let's move on to the offensive position groups. Kyle, will you read what the X guys voted?
Yes. So the people of X said that the strongest offensive position group is the tight ends, followed by running backs, offensive line, and quarterbacks. And then Walter, you had offensive line, running backs, tight ends, quarterbacks, and then fifth would be the wide receivers.
Yeah. So I just think the offensive line is what makes this whole offense tick. My only reservation is I'm hoping that Justin Fry, the new offensive line coach, can pick right up where Clayton Adams left off. But here's the way I looked at it too: is that we've got two potential Pro Bowlers on that line right now, in Paris Johnson Jr. and Hajalte Froholt. And there are not many other position groups where we can say we got two potential Pro Bowlers. I'm also really encouraged by the play of Jonah Williams in training camp. He looks really good, and Isaiah Adams looks really good. He's really come a long way in 1 year. And Evan Brown is solid. He always is. So I have a feeling that they're the guys that make this tick, and I wanted to give them props, and allude to the fact that we've got a couple potential real all-stars here, and maybe even more depending on what Adams does. So, and then the running backs just so dang good. You look at their PFF grades. I mean, they're off the charts. I don't think PFF is as strong or as critical of grading running backs as they are offensive linemen, for example. They're different, completely different coefficients. But I rated them over the tight ends because we've got the stud tight end. I mean, and he's, in my opinion, worthy of being the number one passing option in our offense, and our offense caters to that. So in McBride, we have a real stud, and we had a Pro Bowler there. The other two, on potential, I could see moving them up, but it's potential and not reality yet. With Tip Raymond, I mean, I think Tip Raymond is possibly the X factor for the Cardinals offense this year. I mean, if he plays up to his potential this year, not only as a blocker, but as a sneaky receiver, oh my goodness, this offense could be absolutely fantastic. But Tip Raymond struggled last year. He had his ups and downs, and he's a little undisciplined, but you can see why they draft him. You can see the potential in this kid could be enormous. And then I really like the complementary pieces they have with Travis Vokalek, who's another really good blocker, inline blocker, and with Elijah. The Higgy Bear. He's our backup receiver type, who also sticks his nose in there and blocks. I'm really impressed with him. So I think that they're very deep, but if all goes well, they're going to move up in these rankings because once Raymond gets his feet under him, and once and Higgy Bear continues to do what he does really well and pop in there for great receptions for us, particularly on third down, then I think that's an ascending unit, and it could end up like our ex folks voted for. The potential's there for them to be the number one. And in a 12 and 13 personnel, what could be better than your tight ends being, your bell cows? So And then, so quarterbacks and wide receivers, I sort of rated the same. I think there's great potential there, but it's unrealized completely, and it hasn't been consistent yet. And I'm going to throw in a sneaky little observation that I have. I went and watched the route running of the Cardinals receivers. I think the most difficult guy to cover on the Cardinals receivers is Michael Wilson. Dude is just, I mean, he is looking faster than ever. He's quicker off his breaks. I mean, he was like this at the Senior Bowl when they were touting him so much, the people there who loved him. He is sneaky good, and I think he's kind of underrated, undervalued. And if his health is good, he is going to be one difficult cover. I mean, I watched him burn Garrett Williams and Max Melton repeatedly on routes, and those are two of our best cover guys. He's just especially when you send him cross field, he's just a very difficult cover. And Marvin's grown considerably in that regard too. So I mean, we got two really good options, and and some guys underneath that, if Dortch ever gets on track. So yeah, I'm pretty high on all that, and of course it's a big year for Kyler Murray, and we've got to see if he can take this team to the next level and his play to the next level. So Sam, what do you think?
So your thinking and my thinking were the same, putting the offensive line first. They may not be the strongest, but they're the most important. And then I plugged. I'm really curious to see how Fry is going to take over for Clayton Adams, who I thought was a terrific coach, and I guess the Cowboys did too, since they made him their offensive coordinator. But I put the tight end group second because how important they are, since we play 12, 13 personnel. And I think that, and along with the offensive line, really makes this offense go in all directions.
Right.
That's a strong group. I really like Higgins. Ryman, as you said, is coming along, and Trey McBride's the best player on the team, maybe after Buddha.
Yes.
I know he's the highest ranked player in the NFL at his position. So that's a really strong group. The running backs, Connor's the best, but he's 30 years old, and I haven't seen anything from Benson. I know he's looked good in camp and has done well when he's been called on, but we haven't seen a lot of use out of him. And then you get all the way. I ranked all the positions, top to bottom, defense and offense, and I had Kyler Murray coming in. I think seventh, right before our cornerbacks and our wide receivers. Our wide receivers, I don't know about that group. It's a good group, but who's going to catch the ball besides McBride and MHJ? Wilson, he's a great little player. He's a solid ascending player, but he's never hit 600 receiving yards.
Right.
That group is ranked by ESPN as 29th in the league.
Right. Yep. Little Rock.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much in lockstep. I guess I'd say to the point of the tight ends being at the top. I think if you change tight ends to pass catchers, I think you'd make a good point for them being the top group, only because you have a Pro Bowl tight end whose strength is pass catching. You have a 1,000-yard receiver in Marvin Harrison Jr., who is entering year 2. The rest of the group is a bit shaky, agreed, but if you got those two guys, you're certainly working with something on offense. And then, I think offensive line over running backs, kind of like how Walter has it, is probably the way to go. Just because, like you mentioned, there is a depth of the running back position, but a lot of it is predicated on James Conner. And so much of running games go hand in hand with offensive line, but particularly the work of the interior offensive line did a lot of help for that running back group. So I think I pretty much would agree with Walter. If you had to put it down. And, if you put MHJ and Trey McBride and Michael Wilson kind of together in the same group, that would have a case for being the strongest unit.
Which they do in Lindy's. They just say receivers. We're going to get to Lindy's and Tyler Drake's assessments of each group too, which is really fun to look at. We're going to do that after this. So let's move on to the coaches. This is fascinating to me with the coaches because, by far, Jonathan Gannon got the most votes, and Rouse, Rogers, and Petzing last. And I just have so many questions about that. I mean, I find it just astounding that the one coach that has a team in the top 10 of stuff, fans and pundits are rating last. As if we're taking stuff like that for granted. We have never seen a running attack like this in Arizona. And the brilliance of it, and the chunk yards of it, and the tenacity of it, and how they punish people and wear people down. When people say this team is physical, they're getting it on offense. They're not getting it on defense. And yet Gannon and Rouse are getting all these credits for what? What do they do on defense that's any good? That has been any good? And you talk about, oh boy, he's totally changed the culture. Change the culture? Well, if you're going to be a defensive-minded head coach and you're changing a culture, wouldn't tackling be part of the culture? Wouldn't covering people sticky, white on rice like the Broncos did to us for fourth quarters be part of a culture? Wouldn't defending the run be part of a culture? And I'm not giving, everyone wants to give them mulligans on, oh, well, they came in and the personnel sucked and it's not their fault. They signed up for this. And if they want to admit, oh, yeah, well, we're just going to give the offense everybody early on and no, that's not how that works in the NFL. And plus, in the NFL, you almost always, no matter who you are, have to get more out of less to be super competitive in the NFL. And like a thing like tackling is a want-to. It's not, you don't have to be, look at our best tackler. He's the smallest guy on the defense. And he's a total baller. But where's that coming from other guys? When you say Cardinals are a physical team, where are we seeing it on defense? And, if I look at the other, guys like D'Amico Ryans in Houston, who came into a similar situation when both of them were hired. And his defense is kicking ass. It's top 10 worthy. It's right on the cusp, top 10 or 11. I mean, he's getting it done. We're not. Look at, so that concerns me. The other thing is, Jeff Rogers, it's hard not to put him first because he's been so successful over the years in this group. But I chose Petzing because he does the two things. He's accomplished the two things that this team, since the new staff arrived in 23, does well. Block. It's one of the fundamentals we really do well. And run the ball. Our running backs are spectacular in this offense. And he coordinates the play action to Trey McBride, which is a trifecta. And it's just so impressive. And here's the other thing about Petzing that I love is that he's of one mind and he's so convicted. That's why I think he's the most prepared is that, last year when people were giving him shit about, oh, well, Marvin's not getting the ball and everything, he didn't do anything elaborate, out of panic. He just said, we got to do what we do better. And the next week, Marvin has a good game. I mean, that's what you have. You have to stick to your philosophies and adhere to them. Otherwise, if you bend and give to the players or the pundits or everything, it's always going to be a guessing game. With him, it's no guessing game. That's why he wanted this offseason to galvanize the offense. He said he thinks we have the weapons as they are. We just have to get it better. I really appreciated that. I think that was super smart. I think adding another sort of, playmaker in there would have been too much for Kyler Murray when he was trying to now get in sync with Marv and with his other receivers. So I'm really impressed with Petzing. I know it's not the most glamorous offense and everybody loves a big passing game, but the philosophy of this offense is fascinating to me, and I watched it. They ran defenses down, and we've never looked that physical up. I've never seen a Cardinals offensive line since the 70s when we had those horses of Deerdorf, Conrad Dobler, Banksy. We had some studs there, Bob Young. We had some really guys who got off the ball, but they were mostly a passing offense under Air Coryell. This offense gets off the ball and they whoop. And man, it's so impressive to watch. So, I've got it reversed. I think Gannon is a good, like galvanizing players in the building, and he's got good energy. I like all that. But what was puzzling to me is he comes through as the only one with defensive coordinator experience, doesn't want to do it. Gives it to Rallis, and even says Rallis is better at this than I am. He's a better play caller than I am. He's better at this. And Gannon may be right about that, but that's sort of weird that he did it that way. And that when we have joint practices, he's with the offense. I don't get that. And meanwhile, his defense doesn't tackle. They don't defend the run. They don't rush the edges. They don't cover. I mean, they're like the 30th in the league on third down conversions. I mean, these long, sustained drives with guys wide open. Plus, they make mediocre quarterbacks look great. And that's what's bothered me about Vance Joseph when we had him. And this is just now a systemic thing with the Cardinals, is we just give up too much too easy. So that's my thing. I'm hoping it switches all around and that the personnel will help make this a lot better on defense. But to this point now, we've been one of the worst tackling teams in the league since they got here, and the worst cover teams in the league since they got here. And I see its technique and want to as the problem. Not, it's not like, oh, these guys are just so terrible you can't get much out of them. That's not true. And they've invested all these draft picks, and you've got talent there. You got to make something out of it. So that's my take on it. Again, I have so much respect for Jeff Rodgers. He's one of the best in the business, and special teams were, you could say, are as equally important as offense and defense. Probably you give it to him. Out of respect for him, I think we got a dandy there, and I think our special teams are just that. This year they could be absolutely special. So with that, let me go with Kyle first here. Kyle, what's your gut feel about this?
So, prepared and competent, number one, I would probably agree with you on Petzing. And a lot of that is just based on results. And kind of the fact that we've seen the offense evolve based on personnel. And that's always been a big thing for me in terms of like how good of a coach is. Because it's hard to, when you're not in the locker room and you're not covering the team on a day-to-day basis, it's sometimes hard to tell, but the best skill set I think a coach can do is evolve to who your personnel are. And over basically 3 years now, we've seen Petzing's offenses kind of change and adapt based on who they have and personnel and things of those sorts. I would put him up there. I think when I voted on the poll, I voted for Jeff Rogers #1, which was based on, Cardinals not just always having special team success, but because a lot of that is your players and gunners, but they've changed kickers, 3 times now, and every time they've had a winner, which is something you can point to and say is good. So I guess I'll put Rogers 1, Petzing 2, and then, I guess Gannon and Rallis is tough because, again, Rallis is the defensive play caller. So I guess I would go Gannon 3, Rallis 4, just because, we've talked at length and you articulated it about some of the fundamental issues with the defense over the years, not just like, oh, they had a bad quarterback room or they had injuries, just like fundamentally bad plays, bad calls, people not being in the same positions, things like that. So, I guess I'd go Rogers, Petzing, Gannon, and Rallis.
Good man. Sam?
Yeah, I had Jeff Rogers #1. That was the easy, especially given the question, most prepared and competent coaches. He's been a terrific special teams coach for 21 seasons.
Right.
I have to say, with respect to the rest of the coaches, this staff has not had a winning season.
Right.
I think Petzing is #2 because he's really, really smart.
Yes.
Not just in football IQ, but he's a big brain guy. You can see and watch and hear him on interviews. He's really, really smart. But he's got to fix his quarterback, and that's his job, and he hasn't done it. And he's got to put a lot more creativity into that passing game.
Right.
Well, Walt, you're 100% correct. The running game is close to brilliant.
Right.
And the way he has them mesh. Now, his play calling in the red zone, not good.
Right.
So he has work to do. With respect to Rallis and Gannon, you can flip a coin because Rallis really is Gannon's guy on the field. He's calling plays, and all this, I don't know what you want to call it, about change of culture. I haven't seen any change of culture, not on defense. This is Vance Joseph's team. They're out of position. They can't block. They can't tackle. They can't cover, and it's Keystone Cops back there. Now, they haven't had the talent that maybe they need. This is their year. No more excuses, but they're very weak in the backfield, and they're very weak middle of the field and linebackers. And they didn't bring in any real talent. I mean, they brought in a lot of talent in the cornerback area, but you've got a lot of young guys that are going to start there because of injuries. And the inside linebacker position, I don't know what's going to happen there. I'm just scratching my head.
Yeah, and here's the irony. Who was the inside linebacker coach in Philly under Gannon?
Right.
Nick Rallis.
Right.
Who's the cornerback coach up until he got the DC job? Jonathan Gannon. Why aren't those guys playing better? If this is your forte. It's kind of like Steve Kine couldn't draft an offensive lineman for shit. And he played offensive line.
Yep.
I mean, you just like, what's going on? Or one that would, offensive line who would just click right away. So. Go ahead.
Here's an even bigger head scratcher. So the weakest position group on the team is probably inside linebacker.
Yes.
So who did they hire when they lost Sifkis, their linebacker coach, who became the DC at Virginia Tech?
Right.
They hired Kristen Garcia.
Right.
Played linebacker, but he never coached linebackers in the college or the pros.
Right.
This is your weakest position group, and you brought in a kid who's never coached linebackers.
Right. It's
in any level.
I know you'll appreciate this, Sam. You know what this is analogous to? Drew Petzing hiring Israel Wolford.
No question.
As quarterback coach. And this is the other thing that goes back to Gannon. His hires and his absolute avoidance of adding anyone with experience who might add value to the game preparations, to the in-game adjustments that we're so slow to make. And then, I mean, we just took the youngest coaching staff and had 4 openings and got younger. How does that happen? And so, I mean, these are decisions that Gannon's making. So he counts in all that. I think Rouse is a great young mind. I think he's got, he can play with the Lego set as well as anyone. But the problem is what he hasn't figured out yet is on his exotic packages out of, cover 6 and some really cool things he's done. He hasn't figured out the coverage part. I mean, and what he's learned the hard way is you can't zone these plays. You got to take the no risk it, no biscuit. You got to man up, hope the ball's coming out fast, try to look for the ball, but you can't just give an easy pitch and catch, conversion to the quarterbacks. That's why they make average quarterbacks look really good, and because they give them, it's just too easy. So, yeah, I'm really glad you mentioned that. And we've got both line coaches coming straight from college. They're 2 new hires. I mean, I'm nervous about that. I mean, I think they're both great guys, and I both think they're college all-stars, no doubt about it. But and I've always been nervous from the minute that the Cardinals let Clayton Adams go. I was like, oh my God, because up until this point, if I would have said the most talented coach on the staff, I would have put him 1.
100%.
I would have put him 1.
That's right. That's why he's the offensive coordinator for the Cowboys.
Yeah, and he's not calling plays. He's just going to get his Cowboys to whoop ass up front, do what they were doing in Arizona. So,
which to that point, how often do you see predominantly offensive line coaches get offensive coordinator jobs? It's not the most common thing in the NFL.
Right. And that shows you how valued he was around the league. If this is what they're going to try to do, is get him, that kind of power, and give him that kind of salary. You're doing something right when they go for your top guy and get him. And I argue there were ways they could have done like the Patriots did with Dante Scarnecchia to promote him to assistant head coach and pay him more than what anybody would pay him to keep him in the fold. But, we got a lot of pushback on that when I wrote about it. I'm still getting pushback on that. Like, no, they couldn't do that. Yeah, they could. You can do everything in the NFL if the money counts and you give them the right promotions, so. Now, the most impressive position group coach. Let's go there. Kyle, go ahead.
All right. So, number 1, we have, according to the fans, Autry Denson, followed by Ben Steele. Number 3, Drew Terrell. Is it Terrell or Terrell?
Terrell.
Drew Terrell. And then number 4 coming in is Ryan Smith. Then Walter, you had the same except just flipped the last 2. So you had Denson, Steele, Smith, and Terrell.
Yes. Great job by the X guys. Kudos. You guys really, I think, nailed this down. And I think 3 and 4 are reversible. And I think 1 and 2, you can make a case for Ben Steele. But isn't it ironic that, Ben Steele's has the most experience of any assistant coach on the staff. I think he's at 13 years. So Experience does matter. It really does. But Autry Denson, boy, the job he's doing. And that's why, Sam, I think we may have a treat in store for us with Benson this year, based on what I'm seeing from camp and what he's been saying and what the coaches are saying. I also think that Benson has the ability to be a tremendous running back out of the back. I mean, a receiver out of the backfield. And I love DeMercado, the way they use him on the screen games and the way he blocks and protects on third downs is pretty cool. And how about Bam Knight? I mean, the job Autry Denson has done with him already in a short time, and that Denson had the balls to take the most explosive player, and and they've got that kid under control for the next few years. Whereas with Carter and Dallas, it was only going to be one more year necessarily, and you still were able to retain Carter, which is awesome. DJ went and signed with the Panthers practice squad. So, I love that. I love coaches who, go with the, take those leaps and not get sucked into pandering to veterans. And, it worked out fantastic to keep Bam Knight. I think off that run, someone might have claimed him who had a weak running back room. And I'm so glad that we protected him. So, yeah, kudos to them. What do you think, Sam?
Well, my overall thinking of this entire coaching staff is that we have a staff that is essentially learning on the job.
Right.
You have 4 coaches who have experience in their current roles at this level. That's Rogers, Terrell, Feeney, and Steele. Steele, I think, is the best position coach.
Right.
That tight end group is tremendous. And Trey McBride is Trey McBride because of Steele.
Right.
And the ascending other tight ends, Higgins, et cetera, are doing really well.
Right.
The running back coach can't beat him. He's been doing a great job. But you've got those 4 coaches who have experience in their current role. And then you've got a head coach, 2 coordinators, and you got Coach Debo, Woolfolk, Fry, Ryan Smith, Garcia, and Tony. This is the first time they've had that role in the NFL coaching. Right. And then you have 2 position coaches who have never coached the position at any level. And what do you know? It's our inside linebacker coach, Garcia, and our quarterback coach, Woolfolk. Now, just think about that. You have an underperforming, head-scratching, confused, unfocused, uncoached quarterback who runs your team or who's supposed to run your team, and you've got a kid who's never played or coached the position before. Now, I keep picking on Israel Woolfolk and everything I've read. He has a great personal relationship with Kyler, a calming relationship with Kyler. But is that enough? We'll find out this year. We'll certainly find out this year. And Woolfolk didn't do anything for Clayton Toon's career. So that's really disappointing, and it's really head-scratching. Right. But I really like the hire of Fry, Justin Fryer. He's been an offensive line coach. He won a national championship at Ohio State. He's been coaching for 12 years. The issue with him is he replaced probably our best coach in Clayton Adams. So hopefully the offensive line will continue to improve. And another thing is Fry's brought in some pretty good young players to help groom and develop. So I'm really, even though he hasn't coached in the NFL, I'm really excited about that hire.
Me too. Well said. Speaking of Clayton Toon, his new quarterback coach is Sean Mannion, who played in the league. He's in some ways, I think it's totally cool he wound up with Mannion because Mannion can relate as a perennial backup quarterback who wanted to get his shot. He can live now vicariously through Clayton Toon, who he welcomed with open arms, and they were really excited to get him because Toon was on their radar for the last 3 years. speaking of that, Kyle, will you read these college career stats? So we lost Tune and we picked up Clayton Slovis. There's some good things about him, but the question that I have is, how much did we lose in Clayton Tune, particularly as a practice squad quarterback and a potential, good NFL quarterback down the line if you develop him properly? But check this out. Go ahead, pal.
So in college for Clayton Tune, we have a record of 28-19 at Houston, completed 63.8% of his passes for 11,996 yards, so basically 12,000. Had a 104-41 touchdown to interception ratio, a passer rating of 148.5, averaged about 3 yards per rush and 15 rushing touchdowns. For Clayton Slovis, you have a record of 29-17, completed about 64.5% of his passes for 11,689 yards. So, one less game than Clayton Tune, but basically 12,000 yards.
Yeah.
80-39 touchdown to interception ratio, and a 140.6 rating. If I remember correctly, Clayton Slovis was at like USC and then Pitt, and then I want to say like BYU at the end. So he bounced around.
Yeah. And then the rushing, though, or Slovis, the rushing stat is minus 128 for a career, minus 1.8, but he did have 3 TDs. And I think that's what concerns me. I mean, Slovis, I think he was most brilliant as a freshman at USC. Everyone thought he was going to be an eventual top 10 quarterback in the draft. But injuries and coaching changes and things happen along the way there where he wasn't quite as brilliant in other years. But he showed flashes. He's a nifty playmaker, I think, but at times, but he doesn't have the arm that Clayton has. He doesn't have the size that Clayton has, and he's certainly doesn't have the mobility that Clayton has. I mean, Clayton's mobility is special, which is why, I think he's an ideal scout team quarterback. He gives you everything. Whereas Slovis hopefully will fill that role admirably for us the way Clayton did. And, if we get injuries at the quarterback position, we got to hope that Clayton Slovis is a guy who can come in and play well for us. So he's got to learn our offense. That's the other thing that's going to take a little bit of time. But yeah, it was an interesting way that the Cardinals treated Clayton Tune. And in my opinion, it's a real failure of them to, draft a quarterback in round 5, who apparently they showed no interest in pre-draft process and kind of made the pick on a lark and then treated him the way that they did. And maybe they thought, wow, if we treat him this way and, this and that, maybe it's a good thing that he's, the fans are, ridiculing him because surely he'll pass by waivers and we can keep him there. If that was the thinking, all the more shame on the Cardinals for how they handled this. But here's the thing that bothered me and still does. If you want to move on from Clayton Tune, why don't you sign another quarterback for training camp? Everybody has 4. We saw the Broncos had 4. The Chiefs had 4. The Chiefs' 4th quarterback, Ola Duncan. I love that kid. And I wish the Cardinals would have done something to try to woo him over here. He threw a ball like 85 yards in that game when we saw them. I mean, he off of the run. Can you answer that, Sam? Why would you, if you wanted to move on from Clayton Tune, who you think is terrible, why do you treat the position such that, well, we're not even going to teach another guy our offense in case he leaves? Why aren't there 4 quarterbacks in camp?
Well, that's a good question. And I don't have the answer for it, and I don't know if anyone does. It's irresponsible. The coaching at the quarterback level is just a head scratcher. It just, you can't figure it out. You would think they would have the most experienced, successful QB coach in that QB room.
Right.
If the smartest quarterback on the team may be our backup.
Right.
The one thing I'll tell you with regard to Slovis, you know where he was really good? And this coming from an Arizona fan?
Yeah.
Desert Mountain High School.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Guess who his coach was?
That's right. Kurt Warner.
Warner.
That's right. So he may be the best coach. He may be the best coach, second best coach quarterback on the team.
Maybe Kurt called in, and
yeah,
now he's going to be the guest of Phoenix with Johnny, Touchdown Johnny Venerable and Bo Brack. That's really cool. They landed him. Oh, I'm going to be so excited to get his weekly take on Cardinal quarterbacks. I imagine if he was our quarterback coach. Here's my worry, and I think Sam shares in this, and I think maybe Kyle does too. I've never had the sense since Kyler Murray arrived in Arizona that he is coachable. I mean, I've never had that sense. I think he's felt like he knows more than everybody else.
That's right.
And that, that these coaches aren't really who he would sign up for. I was like, Cliff tried to recruit him to Texas Tech. Yeah, he was, that's a second-rate program. It's still mind-boggling to me how a talent like Kyler Murray, who comes out a legend at Texas, really only ends up playing 1 year of college football, and he's in college for 3 years, right? Or was he there for 4 years? So he only plays 1 full season of college football, and that's kind of mind-boggling. And I think that hurt him for coming into the pros. I mean, he doesn't pass the Bill Parcells coefficient, which, by the way, was just really cool, which I found out this week because I was reading some articles about Jacoby in his time with the Patriots. One of his greatest confidants he talks to regularly is Bill Parcells.
Brissett?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Parcells took a keen interest in him when the Patriots drafted him. And somehow they met and they ended up talking and Parcells said, "Hey, listen, if you want to just chat, I'll be following you. I'm really interested in your career." And Brissett took him up on it, and to this day they talk and regularly. That's a guy I would love to talk to on a daily basis for his wisdom and knowledge.
Sure.
So I think that's really cool. But I hope that now that Kaden Slovis is the Cardinal, I hope he hits the ground running and he does everything he can. And we do have that connection to Arizona high school football and to Kurt Warner. So that's pretty exciting. And maybe it was Kurt who planted the seed and said, "Hey, there's a kid I coached who's pretty dang good. Let's get him in here." So, all right. Now, we're going to go to Lindy's magazine, which I buy every year. Here's my my New England version, which they sell here. I was going to get the Arizona one, but with shipping and everything, it was like twice the cost. This is like $12. So it's a great magazine because the thing I love about it is with every team, you get not only, do they have writers rate your position groups, but you get this mega roster sheet where they have a description of every player. And it also shows you how they entered the league, when the Cardinals acquired them or how through the draft. It's very informative. Excuse me. And this year's writer, Bob McManaman's done them a lot. You know, I think back in the day, Kent Summers did a couple of them. They have different guys that do them. Vince Morata did it. Hey, Vince, great job when you were doing it. So, and now they have Tyler Drake, who I really am fond of, and I think he does a great job for Arizona sports. We're going to post what his ratings were, and comment on those. I think it's fascinating. So I went and saw what the other writers, how they evaluated their coaches and position groups too, and so I'm giving you a sense of where they ranked with the other people in the division. So coaching, he had 7.5, number 3 in the NFC West. And so
I'm curious who finished below him. They saying the Seahawks, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
And Mike McDonald whooped up on us twice and won 10 games.
And he coached the winning season in his first season.
Yeah. So there's this perception, you know, in Arizona that, you know, of like that Gannon and company of the really culture changers and their whiz kids and stuff. But I don't get how, I mean, if you're going to rate them at 7.5 now and you haven't even had a winning record, how does that happen? I mean, and maybe Tyler's just so close to the coaches like Johnny and Bo are that he doesn't want to diss them. I don't know, because he's got to, you know, be in there with them every day. So, quarterbacks, 7.5. Well, I'm a little uneasy about that, but number 3 in the NFC West, of course, they had Darnold 4th, which I'm also uneasy about. Darnold for a whole season was an MVP candidate. It's never happened for Kyler.
Yeah, but Darnold also kind of struggled down the stretch last year too.
He did. He had won that terrible game in the playoffs. You know, it was. You know what reminded me of it was Carson Palmer against the Panthers in the championship game when he had the broken finger and everything went wrong. And you know, I felt bad for him because he would have loved to have that back. And you know, but anyway, I don't know, what grade would you give Kyler?
I mean, I don't know exactly what other quarterbacks graded at, so it's hard to do it on the 1 to 10 scale. I kind of think of Kyler in like the tier 4 quarterback, I guess I would say, like tier 3 to 4, kind of with like a Geno Smith,
right?
A Tua, you know, guys like that is kind of what I think of. But I guess, you know, if 10 is your top tier with Mahomes and Burrow and Allen, then I guess like a 7 probably. You know, 7.5 makes sense.
See, I agree with that because I mean they had Stafford and Purdy at 8, and I don't think Kyler's quite that close enough as a passer. He certainly has the wheels to do other things. So that.
Do you know who they had as at 7? Like an example for who is a 7?
Let me just check for Darnold.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's probably going to be like your Aaron Rodgers.
Darnold is 7.5. So actually, he was tied for number 3 at 7.5. I should have written tied.
Yeah, I got Darnold and Kyler tied for 3rd and 4th in the division.
Yeah.
If you look at Darnold's ratings and stats for last year, he's definitely higher ranked, should be higher ranked than Kyler. But we'll see how Darnold does with Kubiak and that offensive line in Seattle.
Right.
But and then you gotta look at the Rams. If Stafford's healthy, he's number 1.
Correct. The way he bonds, the way he prepares, he's a consummate pro.
Well, and it all comes back to coaching, doesn't it?
And he's got a hell of a coach.
Yes,
I mean, that system and what they do is just pretty special. And now they got Devontae Adams thrown in there. Wow. Okay, well, so now let's move on. We'll go quickly through these. I thought that was a good assessment. 8 for the running backs, tied for number 1. And I think that the Rams, they rated it 8. I thought that might have been a little high. If anyone, I would have given the 49ers with McCaffrey the 8, but I think the Rams got it. But anyway,
I guess also running back rooms too. So like the 49ers have McCaffrey and then just a tailspin after that.
Yes, good point. Excellent point. Then the receivers, he said 7, which, with McBride in there, that seems kind of weird, but it's tied for 2nd. Any comment on that?
Yeah, I just looking at the division, I got the Rams 1, I got the Seahawks 2, Niners 3rd, and that's even with injuries. I got the Cardinals 4th.
Right. That's a good point. Yep. They got to climb that ladder.
I struggle with what to do about the Seahawks and the Rams to a certain extent because I don't know which versions of Devontae Adams and Cooper Kupps we're going to get at this point in their career. I mean,
good point.
Both of their previous teams seemed pretty comfortable letting those guys go. And I just don't really know exactly what to do with that. But the Cardinals have their own questions. I mean, after Marvin Harrison Jr., we talked about Michael Wilson earlier, never been a 600-yard guy yet in his career. The question mark at slot receiver for what feels like the 4th time in 5 years, all that stuff. So, I think every team, and then obviously the 49ers, just injuries upon injuries on their receiving corps. So I think everyone's got big question marks in this group.
Yeah. I wish they had broken that one up because there's just a disparity there. But we have talent. We have talent across the board there. There's plenty of talent there. And, it's undeveloped yet, especially wide receiver for us. And those younger tight ends are coming along. So this might be a better year than we think there. O-line, go ahead.
If everybody's healthy, if McBride or MHJ or Wilson misses any significant time, I don't know what's going to happen to this passing game.
Yep. Maybe a guy who's an X factor. See, I think, not only Tip Ryman is an X factor. This kid, Simi Fehoko, with his speed and size, if he stays healthy, he could be a factor.
Preseason.
Yep. So this O-line grade to me is low. And of course, we went over this. Tied for 2 in the NFC West. I don't agree with that. I think they're the best in the West. Their continuity, the way they play together. So
I think they're head and shoulders the best.
Yeah, I do.
Do you know who they ranked ahead of them on offensive line?
I think it was the Rams, but let me just check it.
I thought it was.
The Rams really struggled last year protecting Stafford, and they made those huge guard signings. One of them they already got rid of, but they paid these guards $20 million a year.
Yeah, it is interesting to think about that versus, I'm sure the Seahawks were dead last because the Seahawks are always poor on the offensive line, but I just, I don't feel like the whole division is super strong at that position.
Oh, I think Seattle has one of the worst offensive lines in the league.
Yeah, I mean they have for years now, and they've tried every which way they can. They've tried signing 38-year-olds. They've tried drafting. They've tried signing people. They just can't figure out the offensive line situation, which again is part of why they have such great running backs. But running game is such a byproduct of your offensive line in the modern NFL, and Kenneth Walker should be Bijan Robinson in terms of skill set, but he just never gets that opportunity.
Right. Actually, I think we're tied with the 49ers. I may have seen it wrong in the beginning. Yeah.
Okay.
We both got 7 with the 49ers, and I think the Rams too had 7. So I read it wrong.
Everyone's the same.
Yeah, pretty much. But I do think we're the best in the West. Oh no,
well,
no, it's the Rams 7.5.
Yeah, I don't get that.
So yeah.
Even the 49ers, they're being pretty much propelled by Trent Williams still being at 38, the best left tackle in the NFL, because the rest of that offensive line for the Niners is pretty stinky.
Yeah. Interesting that defensive line 7.5 is tied for 3rd. That tells you what our division's like for defense. They have, I think, Seahawks, or because of Leonard Hamilton, and the Rams. Let me see what they had. Let's see what the breakdown was for that. And the 49ers, they've taken a hit there. They drafted 2 young kids that I like, but I don't know how ready they'll be. 49ers is 7.5, so they were tied with us. So the Seahawks are going to be 8 something. 8. And the Rams are going to be 8. The Rams guy has them rated 8. So there you go.
All things considered, I think the Cardinals kind of lucked out in this ranking. I'm not sure I would have put their defensive line, on par with the 49ers or just a step below the Seahawks or the Rams. So
yeah,
I think they got a favorable grade right there.
Right. Well, the wild card here is Walter Nolan. I mean, if he's healthy, and you add him to our mix there. Also, I think Dante Stills is looking like he's going to rush well from the interior in that role. And Darius Robinson, we expect he looks the part this year. So, there's real talent there for the first time in a long time. And then this kid, the edge kid, like that Sam mentions and touted, Birch. Oh my goodness, physicality, the explosion off the edge. So this is going to be an interesting, development for us to see this kind of talent, physical talent up front. Interesting. This was wild. He ranked Tyler. I don't know what he was thinking, but he ranked our linebackers 7.5. And that turned out to be number 1 in the NFC West.
Yeah, it's flat wrong.
I mean, the Rams have Jared Verse. I don't know how you're factoring this in there, but they rate their guys, their linebackers, a 6. The Rams do. Maybe actually the Rams are. Oh no, they're factoring Fisk as Jared Verse. Yeah, as a linebacker. Weird. But they just feel like they're so weak in the middle, like we are. but it just was bizarre to look through this and say, wow, our linebackers get 7.5, number one in the NFC West. I look at Seattle, love what McDonald did there, picking up, he got a steal there when he picked up Ernest Jones, and then they re-signed him. I was praying we would pounce on him and overpay him to get him in Arizona. So we so need a Mike that's going to make a difference. And Jones, we saw how he deked out Kyler for that great interception. Jones has a knack for, playmaking, and I really love that kid. So, and they picked up on him. So I would have given them more, but they only rated their linebackers 6.5. Wow. So
this is for the Rams, you're saying?
No, Seahawks.
Yeah.
I don't get it. But
I don't get it either. I got Seahawks ranked number 1 in defensive line, linebackers, and secondary, followed by the Niners. And you know what I really like about the Niners?
Yeah.
New DC.
Oh, Saleh.
Yep.
Saleh is back.
Yep.
He is one of the best.
Kyle Shanahan and Salah, heck of a combination, and they hit two Super Bowl appearances.
Right.
Yep.
And if Robert Salah wasn't enough, they just thought, let's bring in Gus Bradley.
Yep. That's right.
I mean, between the two of them, they have like 40 years NFL experience.
Yeah.
And how many years calling plays? I mean, probably 20 years combined calling plays.
Yeah.
Our guy is heading into his third. And in the preseason, they gave him a game off. It's just bizarre to me, some of the decision making that goes on. But anyway, we've talked about that. Let's go on to DBs. This was an interesting development. Tied for second in the NFC West. Now, our safeties factor into that. So I think Tyler did a good job there. I would have given him as a total DBs a 7 myself. What about you guys?
Well, if you take the safeties out, we're definitely a distant fourth. And you can't pick on the talent. The talent is there, but the experience is not there. And you've got a couple. I mean, I don't know how Max Melton's going to play. He did a nice job second half of last year. Well, he did better the second half of last year, but we haven't seen him in any significant role in preseason.
Right.
I guess he's had a good camp. And then you got Will Johnson, who I don't think is ready. And but we'll see how some of the kids they've kept around for the last couple years, Hall and our kid from BC,
Elijah,
we'll see how they do. Yeah, we'll see how they do. I think they're going to get a lot of time.
Good. And I think they got to be taught better. The penalties this preseason was not good. And,
terrible.
The holding penalties. Will Johnson got 2 of them. Denzel got one. We need to be stronger fundamentally in how we teach technique and leverage. I mean, our guys can do a better job of leverage, certainly, but we got to do a better job of being sticky. I mean, that's the problem. Is that. And you can be sticky in zones. You pick up your man. If man's in your zone, you stick him. You don't play off him. You got to make it tight. Or you bait the quarterback and play the passing lane, like Will Johnson can do. So there's one young talent there, and but it's going to require the kind of coaching that's going to get them over the top. And then special teams, number 1 in NFC West. I totally agree with that. Tyler nailed that. So that's interesting. Now, to be fair to Tyler, he's got to get these galleys in like months ago. So maybe the buzz over the draft and this and that, and back then it's all on paper. None of Tyler couldn't have seen training camp. I bet if we were asking him now, he might adjust some of those grades. And so it's only fair to him. And I thought he did a heck of a job. if you read his descriptors on each position group and all his descriptions of the players on the roster on this great page here, they're really good. Give me the name of one player. Little Rock. I'll tell you what he wrote about him.
All right, let's go with Jonah Williams.
Okay. Entering a 6th year from Alabama, was acquired as a UFA from Cincinnati in 24, was a first-round pick of Cincinnati in 19. Tyler wrote, if he can rebound from an injury-filled 2024, the vet should start at right tackle. Yes, indeed. And I think continue to play well. But in the 6 games he played well. He graded well. He played well. It's encouraging. And he says he feels great. And he's very encouraged by his training camp. And so I'm really excited about that. This is good. Sam, give me one player.
How about the Birch kid?
Okay.
Defensive line.
Yeah, your favorite.
Jordan Birch, rookie, Oregon. Drafted in the 3rd round, 25 by Arizona. Racked up sacks at Oregon last season. Wait a minute, I need my magnifying glass. After inking racked up 8.5 sacks at Oregon last year and brings added athleticism to the room. Bingo. Yeah,
I got another.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say another one that I just thought of there. What about our guy, the Rabbit? What do they have to say about him?
There you go.
Oh, great point. Okay. Great point. Dadrian Taylor Demerson. 2nd year, Texas Tech. Draft 4th round, 24 by the Cardinals. Nicknamed Rabbit, the young safety is another heat-seeking missile in the room. Love that.
Yep. And then indulge us. What's he say about Kyler?
Oh, that's great. Kyler Murray, 7th year, Oklahoma. Draft 1st round, 2019. Arizona's QB1 who can be a walking highlight reel on the ground and through the air.
Sure.
Highlight, low light, 2nd half of the season.
Yeah, he didn't go there with that one. I think you have to say for Kyler, we all have. This is the year. He's got to, step up and take his game to, throughout the entirety of a season and try to get, stronger as the season goes on rather than the reverse. And, it's time. And I was thinking that if it doesn't happen, what a draft for quarterbacks we're looking at. I mean, how many people would get excited about Levitt in Arizona for the Cardinals? I mean, the way that kid played, love that kid. Nussmeier for LSU played a great game. There are a number really good. Of course, Arch. Did either you see the Texas game?
Yeah, he didn't look very good.
No, and the mechanics. I mean, the son of.
I was shocked.
The sidearm throw, flat-footed.
Yeah.
Conversion down.
Yeah, but let's not forget the opener in Ohio State. That's as tough as any opener for anyone. And what a defense Ohio State has.
And get this. Guess how many starters they had back from last year?
How many?
3.
3 total.
Ohio State?
Yeah.
Wow.
Talk about a reworked defense.
With 2 new coordinators, too. Had to completely revamp
Yeah.
the team.
That's right. And their offensive line coach.
Yeah. The whole thing got overdone. What I thought was interesting about the whole Arch saga, because, he's probably going to be a 4-year college guy, all that stuff. But I thought it was interesting that, like, the whole thing with Steve Sarkisian is that his offenses are very vanilla and they're good at, screen passes, short throws, really helping you get into the flow of the game.
Right.
That was the thing that won him a championship at Alabama and got him fired by the Atlanta Falcons. So it kind of, you take the good with the bad.
Right.
When, when you have all the talent and Mac Jones is your quarterback, you're fine. But once, you don't have the talent discrepancy, it's different. But what I thought was interesting is, like, even in that system where he wasn't really throwing the ball deep that much, he threw into double coverage on one bad play, but even with all of that, he was still missing reads, still missing throws. And he's going to have like a month of easy games to kind of work some of that stuff out. But it was just surprising to watch. But again, I think that's a big part of, like, that was his first major college football start. And he didn't win a whole lot in high school either, despite being a 5-star recruit. And I think there was a lot of work that needs to be done there. But to your point about the quarterbacks, there's, between Nussmeier and Lenore Sellers and all sorts of great quarterbacks other than him in the class.
Oh, did he look amazing? Maybe there's a soft landing if this doesn't go right this year, because we got to get it figured out at the quarterback position. And this is this year to figure it out, hopefully for good. Lastly, I want to go to a tweet that came out. The third tweet that I sent you, where the young man was endorsing why Gannon was number 1 on the list. And then I want to go to our Red Rain blogger, T. Maddie. Yeah, let's stay with T. Maddie. Kyle, would you read us what T. Maddie responded to our prep article for this show?
T. Maddie said, I think the debate as to whether Rallis or Petzing has done the better job is very interesting. Seems like the fan pulse was preferential to Petzing in year 1 than Rallis in year 2. I think the judgment for year 2 is based on the perception Rallis did more with less talent-wise, whereas Petzing did, quote-unquote, less with more, despite stats pointing to 2024 offense being pretty good. I think this has more to do with the eyeball test and Monty's investment in the offense in both years rather than stats. Last year, we had a defense that gave up a ton of yards but frequently made red zone stops. Our offense seemed to similarly stall in the red zone, leading to a lot of field goals. On top of that, going from a Cliff offense to Petzing's offense with less reliance on the passing game was a bit jarring. I think that's in reference to the eye test. In a lot of ways, it seems like we still don't know what to expect from the OC and DC after 2 years, so this season should be enlightening.
What do you think, Sam? How would you respond to Maddie?
Well, I like what he had to say. Again, it's Petzing's passing game that needs improvement. His quarterback needs improvement, and that's on Petzing. I just look at the coaching staff as a whole. You got Sports Illustrated, ESPN, Yardbarker, NFL, CBS, Yahoo Sports, Football in Fact. And if you consolidate the coaching ranks of our staff, we're ranked 23rd overall, and we dropped from 20th the previous year.
Yeah.
I mean, that pretty much says it all, especially when they're coaching against coaches in the West. You want to put Shanahan and McVay number 1, number 2, or at least in the top 5 in the league of coaches. I don't know how you could argue that. And we're ranked 23rd.
Right.
We'll see how the year goes.
Well, I want to thank Maddie. Love this. I think it's really well thought out, and I can't argue with your assessment of how the perception is amongst the fans and the pundits and this and that. Here's my question, though, Maddie. If we had drafted Brock Bowers instead of Marvin Harrison Jr. and stayed more in lockstep with what Petzing wants to accomplish on offense, would there be any questions really about Petzing now? I don't believe there would be. I think, you can say you can put it on Petzing schemes. I watched so with Kurt Warner, their root trees, those are pro root trees and root combinations. They're not, now he's incorporating more motion this year, which is good. And I think they'll do some more picking and some more rub-offs. And so it'd be fun to see all that. But I think that the problem is, here's the thing. The drafting of Marvin Harrison Jr. switched the focus back to people wanting this high-powered passing attack. And because it became that focus, and it still is, like, it's back to the same thing of, like, if this fails, it's not Kyler's fault. It's the coach's fault. And at what point does it, like, this guy I love gave a normal is the new genius graduation speech out of University of New York, Binghamton. And one of his points was that in freshman year, when I got my third new roommate, coming to the realization that I could be the problem. I mean, this is like deja vu all over again. It's like the coach sucks. But when is it the quarterback? And, I think drafting Marvin put a lot of pressure on Kyler to try to deliver to this kid. And as I and some others predicted, watching his tape at Ohio State, we knew, especially he's going to get bracketed in the NFL, it was going to be a difficult transition for him in certain ways. Now, I think it's awesome that he lit it up for 8 touchdowns. I'll take the 800 and plus, nearly 900 yards. It still worked out pretty well, but it took away from the offense, the flavor of the offense, and I think to a detrimental degree at times, like on third downs when you're throwing fade passes out of bounds to him, and now you're running off the field. So when is it the coach is going to always get the blame. It's the same thing. And then on the flip side, like, the Cardinals defense does nothing well. Nothing. And Gannon and Rallis are like, oh, these guys are the best. We have a preseason game against the Broncos, and the defense gives up 565 yards. And all the fans want to talk about is Clayton Tune.
Yeah.
Which part of, things can happen. Which part of red flags do people not see? The red flags with Kyler, the red flags with Gannon, the red flags with Rallis. That he might be just too young, too inexperienced. And he doesn't have an experienced mentor on the staff to turn to.
There you go.
The Gannon had in Philly with Vic Fangio. In his last year, he had an experienced guy to turn to,
and he worked with Mike Zimmer.
Right? And he probably could have called Mike at any point
100%.
For advice. But which point? I think it comes down to at which point is it not going to matter who the coach is when it comes to Kyler. He's either got it or he's not, and he's got to show us. And here's the question I'd ask you, Maddie. Is Kyler imminently coachable? And if the answer is undecided, or I don't know, what does that say? How can you blame the coaches for trying to coach a guy who's not that coachable? And Kyler swears about Petzing and that he's a genius. So, and hopefully, a lot of the stuff that Petzing's trying to help him with, it will rub off, and we'll see a different version of all this year. So, thank you for your comment. Really much appreciated. And lastly, but not leastly, and I'm glad Sam's here. What I'm going to do is I bought a new Cardinals white helmet because I realized that there's an upgrade in the flourish of the Cardinal. Now, this is the helmet that Sam and I grew up with. All right. That's the old Cardinal. I fell in love with it. I think it's the greatest helmet. And so, this is the one. Here's the next evolution. So when they got to Arizona, then we got this. All right. Notice the difference. I even wrote to the Cardinals about their original helmet. See how the Cardinal beak is a frown? I said, turn that sucker up and make it a smile.
What do they have to smile about?
It's not working with the downer, so turn it into a positive. So then, for $35, I got this one, which is now the reason why they're going with that. I love this. Like nuanced, flashy Cardinal, because they discovered it when they did it on this, which is so cool, when they did it on the black helmet. And now, Kyle, can you show us the new Rivalries helmet that came out this week? I sent a picture of that. Woo! Fresh.
Yeah, it's good looking.
It is great looking. Love the red face mask. Oh.
And are they using it when they play Seattle? Are they wearing it when they play?
They're playing it once this year and then that game.
Home or away?
It's home.
Oh, boy.
So nice.
Yeah, I love it. And, would I want that as our regular helmet? No. Because this is what I grew up loving, and I hope they'll never change it. That brilliant red Cardinal on that milk white helmet with the black face mask and the yellow beak, it just gives me, such pride. I used to, in middle school, draw Cardinals all day long, and then color them in with like red markers and black. I had red, black, and like a neon highlighter I'd use for the beak. And I'll tell you what, I got really good at doing that logo. I got really good at it. I mean, I just kept trying it. I traced it first and then started doing it on my own. And I really had some artistic fun with that. And then in art class, I did a painting that my teacher loved of Larry Wilson, number 8, like in the pose, for my art project. So,
nice.
It was way back. But Sam's got me beat by 2 years. God bless him. He came in at 61. I came in at 63. Kyle is 50 years later. Wait, at 03. Is that 50?
And I mean, I was, we said 03, but I mean, I was 2 years old in 03. So probably 13 is probably.
So let's say 13. So you are 50 years later, something like
Sure.
2013. And Kyle's bro is a Cardinals fan, deluxe. So
He's probably been since about 13 because he probably got into it around the time of Carson Palmer and Larry Fitzgerald and that whole run. So yeah, we
right.
could say since 13.
Yep. It's really exciting. And so glad that, yeah, that's perfect. Please tell him for me, we're glad to have him in the chronology of Cardinal fans.
Yeah, so
we can
he,
we can use all the Cardinal fans we can get.
True, especially the ones who won't sell their tickets.
I was gonna say my brother's badge of honor is he was living in Los Angeles and going to school, so he was at the one and only Cardinals playoff game of the last 10 years.
So was I, and I still regret it. What a disaster!
Yep.
To take them when you can get them. The Monday Night Football only playoff game the Cardinals have had since 2015.
Oh boy. Well, we got a lot ahead of us, and a brand new season starts in New Orleans this Sunday. It's an early game, and we'll be writing about this on Red Rain blog during the week. I have a lot of respect for Kellen Moore. He'll have that team ready. There's no doubt in my mind. And I looked at their roster. I wrote an article about it a while back.
Very good article.
Got a ton of talent on that roster. Don't let people con you into thinking this is some kind of easy game. Because the Cardinals in easy games don't work anyway. When do they ever work? Okay. Like let down. Wasn't after the bye week supposed to be the easiest part of the schedule last year? Well,
not this year.
So don't listen to that. Don't listen to easy games. It doesn't happen. We'll be very fortunate to come out of New Orleans with a win. So, yes, there it is. There's no such thing as easy. And I'll have to revisit that this week because I did a good job scouting I think.
It was an eye-opening post.
Yeah, wait till you look at the talent, especially on their offensive line.
Yep.
You know that 4 of their 5 players on their offensive line are first-round draft picks made by them, and including the one they picked up this year, the big tackle from Texas, who's so good. We were even considering taking him. What's his name? The big
Kelvin Banks.
Yes, Kelvin Banks Jr. Exactly. And their one second rounder is a Pro Bowler in McCoy, the center. So, wow. I mean,
it feels like they draft offensive line every year.
Mickey Loomis has always done a good job building the offensive line as GM.
Yes. They really got that part right. And their defense is got a lot of good players on it. I mean, and they played pretty well in a lot of games last year. So, I mean, this is not going to be easy, and it's on the road and a new coaching staff. People are going to be excited in New Orleans, as they always are. So, yeah, we better come prepared and to play all 60 minutes and play it hard and tough and gutsy and clutch. So,
which, to your point about the offensive line and the running game, lo and behold, Alvin Kamara is 30 years old and still going strong, just like our guy James Conner. It's amazing what a strong offensive line can do for running backs who, everyone says by the time they're 27, they're washed and over with. And but here's Alvin Kamara, 30 years old, year 9, still as good as ever.
He certainly is, and he's going to, he's someone to key on in this game and really need to get on top of him right from the get-go. And that I think that Kellen Moore he likes 12 and 13 personnels, and he's got good tight ends to do it. I think he might try to do a Petzing on the Cardinals. Really get after the running and get after our inside linebackers, make it miserable and tough as he can. And try to take it from there with play action. And with Spencer Rattler at quarterback. So we got a tough one. Every year it's 0-0. You never know who's going to be good. You never know who's going to have. Football's a chemistry thing. The chemistry can work for a lot of teams, and and when you get the right coaching and the right buy-in, you're going to see things. So be really delighted if we can get past and prevail past the Saints and prevail this weekend. Go ahead, Sam.
If we're going to get to the playoffs, we have to win this game. And after reading your eye-opening, illustrative article on the talent on the Saints, I think the only prospective weakness is their quarterback, is the local kid Spencer Rattler. He's only had 7 starts and he's never had a win.
Right.
So that might be the one ace in the hole that the Cardinals might have on the road at an opener. And like you said, no opener is easy, especially on the road.
Right. And if we're in the same mode of making, average quarterbacks look good, give them easy opportunities, hopefully that doesn't happen. I mean, hopefully they'll make it really tough on Rattler to get going.
Yeah.
I like Rattler. I like him. I
do too.
I watched him last year. He lost those games, but a lot of them were nip and tuck games where I thought he played pretty well. And I like their backup, Slough, Tyler.
That's a close competition.
It was, and
something we've never had in Arizona since we drafted Kyler.
No, and let's pick up on that another day. You'll get me started.
Yeah.
Oh man, that just so bugs me. But competition is a thing at every position, and I believe in it, and it should be the thing. But guys, I appreciate you both for a great show. I thought we got a lot accomplished. Parting shots. Kyle?
Well, we're back for another season. I will take the parting shot to thank all of the wonderful listeners and people supporting the Red Rain blog. Last week's episode after the Raiders game, between the YouTube and the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcast and all of that, it's our most viewed episode since like week 10 of last year. So everybody's coming out to support right now, and I really appreciate it. And I'm sure Walter and Sam do very much as well. So thank you, everybody who is checking in, and I'm always going to direct people to the Red Rain blog for AZ Cardinals fans.blogspot.com. It's linked in the description of this episode. Everybody, if you're still listening at this point, you're definitely a Cardinals fan. So you're definitely going to want to check out what Walter is writing once a day, every day. Walter's got something for you guys at that Red Rain blog.
Thanks, pal. Sam?
Couldn't have said it better than that. That's why I'm here.
Oh, this is awesome. This is a dream, because Sam and I go pretty far back as Cardinal fans together, going through trying to cope and get excited when we could. and sometimes we were able to do that a lot. But, we're pulled our sleeves up and we're in the blogs every day, slugging it out, trying to make friends, trying to make points, trying to will our Cardinals out of the dark and into the light. And hopefully this season we're going to see something pretty special and exciting and enlightening. And I really look forward to it. So a week from today, we'll buckle it up and see what we'll talk about and analyze the Saints game. We'll do this on Monday mornings and try to get it out to you as soon as we can. each week during the season. And yeah, I echo Kyle's thanks to all of you. Without you, this would be nothing. And you know, we love the conversation, Maddie. Thanks for giving us something to chew on. There were guys on X that wrote some stuff that I really appreciated. And next time we'll try to share more of what the X people are writing. So anyway, let's get after this game one, huh? And feel like the red rain's going to shower down on us into a red sea. Red rain.